Okay, hello everyone. This is Sharonda, and this is my podcast as well as my YouTube channel, Spiritual Sense. Today is Monday, and as I mentioned, I was going to speak about a couple of topics I have listed here. I decided that I'm going to speak on the spiritual subject, spiritual trances. I like to start off by saying that this YouTube podcast and channel is for entertainment purposes. All right. So let me go ahead and proceed. I'm gonna put my music on. I was listening to me some meditation music and it cut off. All right. Let's see if I'm able to pull up some music. All right. So for those who may be listening in or will be tuning in, if you uh, proceed if you proceed to listen to meditation music, it will relax you. If you're somebody that may have some issues in terms of um, spiritual, mental, or even physically wise, listening to meditation music will help to the healing process. It'll help with positive imagery as well, which can facilitate better thought thinking and to help you to heal. So just proceed to um, go on YouTube Music and just put on positive energy meditation. If you are someone that may have some kidney uh, issues, you can actually put in kidney restoration meditation music and see want to help to facilitate you going to the restroom. And I'm telling you from personal experience, okay? All right, so what is the spiritual subject today? So the spiritual subject that I'm going to speak about is spiritual trances. Now, I touched a little bit on this subject, on this topic, a couple of months ago, where I mentioned about the sleeping prophet, Edgar Casey, and I will be bringing him up later on in this visual presentation. So, my name is Sharonda King. I am a licensed practical nurse by profession. I work in the healthcare field, have been for the last 20 plus years. Um, so, I have seen my fair share of things in this life experience, and that's what forefronted me to start this YouTube channel. I started the channel when I was in school for psychology back in 2017, 2018, somewhere along in there. Because I've heard of YouTube, but I really didn't think to entertain the topic until I was in pursuit of getting my psychology degree to become a substance abuse counselor. Well, I've since put that off on the back burner. And so, in me getting on YouTube, I began to, research and find information regarding my interests, psychics, mediums, and spirituality type of things. And so that's what I proceeded to do. Uh, in the midst of doing that, I started this channel. I want to say about 6 or 7 years ago to convey what this life experience has presented to me. All right. I do believe that we are all on a life theme. And what does that mean? Like we come here, we're assigned a spiritual duty or a spiritual assignment. We gravitate to a spirit related job field on that mission. And things that presents to you may not necessarily be the same things that presents to another person, but ultimately we are on a path or a life theme. That being said, I honestly feel as though you would, as you get older or as you get more, um, acquire more spiritual know-how, God will put you in what I refer to as spiritual trances. Now, look, I don't know much about the Bible, but I do know that there were some, and do bear with me, some of the characters that are in the Bible experienced so-called trances or what have you being in the Bible. I do remember and recall one particular figure, Saul, who later changed his name to Paul, from my understanding. In reading that particular chapter, he was the persecutor of Christians. Um, he actually not only persecuted Christians, but he helped to transition, spiritual transition or unalive many Christians. And in the midst of him walking in this, what I assume to be a desert or whatever the case may be, something supernatural happened with him. He actually, there was like I want to say like a lightning strike or something of the sort. And then he seen the light and something happened. And then he later on changed his name from Saul to Paul. So me having that healthcare background with the emphasis in science, I am not a doctor and I don't care to be one. At, at one point in time, I did want to be a psychologist, parapsychologist. And looking back at that and thinking back at that story, because I want to say I first read that story had to have been in my either late teens or early 20s. So being 20 plus years later, um, I would say that I feel that could there very well been a stroke and or seizure that occurred, and as a result, um, it prompted this person to look at things in a different sensibility. Because I'm gonna explain something to you. God um, allowed me to know what it feels like if a person has some issues in terms of communication, particularly if they have had a seizure or even a stroke, right? So that's why I refer to this as spiritual trances, because I do believe that God gives us the ability to empathize or even understand what someone experiencing it in simulation. Similarly to, how we watch TV, we may watch movies or a TV show and then, and they're acting. Well, it works similarly to real life experiences where if you have the desire to know what it is that someone is experiencing, I think God would take you into a simulation to where you can gain that empathy or that understanding without actually going through it yourself, if that makes sense to you. So I think spiritual trances are such as that, where God will give you the understanding to where you can convey what it is that they are experiencing, right? So, what is a trance? So let's go here. And it said a trance is a state of mind caused by cognitive loops where a thought, image, sound, or action repeats long enough to disable some cognitive functions. Trance states can also be induced by repetitive activities like walking or running, or by being deeply engrossed in an activity like reading or watching a game, right? So, again, that's basically what a trance is, a spiritual trance. I do believe that they are facilitated by, if you are someone who may be medically inclined or health inclined, I think certain things that you may take or consume, certain things that you may be lacking or deficient in nutritionally wise, can also facilitate the trance. But the type of trance that I'm speaking about is more or less spiritual. It's a simulation to what it's someone is experiencing, whether it be biologically, physiologically, um, mentally, or whatever the case may be. So it does have some information here as to how you can enter a trance, which essentially is similarly to hypnosis. It mentions clear your mind, remove any distracting thoughts from your mind, but don't force them out. Relax your body and mind, and try to imagine tension melting away from your toes and working its way up your body. Focus on your breathing. Notice your breathing pattern and adjust it to a slow rhythmic flow. Program your mind. Once you've re- reached this relaxed state, you can begin programming your mind and visualization. After programming your mind, visualize yourself taking each step carefully up a staircase. That's what it has mentioned here. So I think that is a form of meditation, because I do believe meditation um, can put you in a good state to where you are able to heal, right? Like, I'm gonna give you an example. Um, I find that I recoup when I sleep. I find that most people do. When you are in a sleep or sleep like state, it's so easy to heal. It's more or less getting your body into um, kind of similarly to hibernation. Slow down the breathing, the heart, and things like that. And it helps to heal you. It really does. Um, So I'm not going to go too much into a lot of that, but if for those who may be on here, there is a um, level one, the beginner's guide to trans psychic mediumship. It is 14.99 listed here on this website, udemy.com. If you are looking to try to get into uh, trance mediumship and channeling and things like that, I do believe that mostly we possess that capability, but you want to do some research prior to getting into something like this, because you can get way, way out there once you start into astral project um, and things like that. All right, so what exactly is spiritual trances? Well, as I mentioned, God enlightens us um, by putting us in a trance, right? It's more or less similarly to hypnosis. It mentions that it's rapture or religious ecstasy is an altered state of consciousness characterized by greatly reduced external awareness, an expanded interior mental and spiritual awareness, which is frequently accompanied by visions and emotional, intuitive, and sometimes physical euphoria. So it's a state of well-being. I think um, ultimately it's God giving you innate knowledge and understanding. It's just an immediate download. That's the only way I can describe it. And to hone your wisdom and your spiritual know-how, if that makes sense. Um, so it says, what would cause someone to go into trance? Well, traumas, as it has indicated here, you hear words or tell yourself something, and you may have feelings attached to whatever is being said to you, which um, can trigger or even facilitate deeply um, unconscious, tap into your deeply unconscious mind. Like, say, for instance, a traumatic thing to occur can facilitate, I believe, behavior modification. Like, say, for instance, if you're in a situation where people don't feel as though you are who you think you are or who you profess to be, they can facilitate trauma upon you to get you, whenever you see them, it will exude fear, right? Whatever behavior modification or conditioning that they think that you should have. Like, if I feel as though you are not worthy, and I wholeheartedly believe that, and if you don't think or feel that same way, then I can do some things to you to get you to subconsciously operate appropriately to what I want, or quote unquote appropriately, if that makes sense to anybody. So it's a form of behavior modification, inflicting pain and suffering on someone to get them to be what I desire for them to be. All right. Um, so you have to be very careful when you are um, get into deep thought and things of that nature, because these things can help to control individuals. Now, it prompts me to think about um, a YouTube video that I watched that spoke about presidents in the past that has had a MK Ultra done to them, where they were put in a altered state for total control. I watched that a few years ago. So I think spiritual trances will make it apparent to you the capabilities of certain spirits and energies, particularly dark energies, when people have the ability to manipulate the mind and program you to think and feel as they want you to think and feel. And so one particular president I witnessed was captivated. He was literally hypnotized. and it was just like a puppet. And to see this video was very disheartening to me, because to have somebody in that state is spooky. The ability to facilitate uh, that type of thing upon a person led me to understand what is actually going on with certain population or even subpopulations. Even so, these are spirits. Psychology, you have to be very careful when you are dealing with the mind and um, engaging people in uh, opening up their memory to traumas. All right. So it says, what does the Bible say about trances? Genesis 15 mentions when God was cutting a covenant with Abraham to give him and his descendants the land of Canaan. It says that God put Abraham into a deep sleep, which is a trance. So, what would you say a trance is? Would you say that that is something favorable, or would you say that it can be, just put it this way, beware, beware, because I do believe, um, provided whoever is the facilitator can, I feel it could be, if it's mishandled, it could be misused. I think oftentimes when you have people that are curious, are always studying and curious about things to see what they can do. They do these things to see what they can do, if that makes sense to anybody. Like, oh boy, look at what I can do. You have to be very careful when you are dealing with anything involving the emotions and the deep mind of people. So let me go into this so-called sleeping prophet, which is Edward Casey. He was an American clairvoyant, as indicated here. Now, so there was claims of him, and I remember first hearing about this sleeping prophet and watching a couple of programs involving unsolved mysteries and things like that. And there has been many individuals who have had this same capability to be in a trance and perform quote unquote miracles or um, healings on people. So, do you believe something such as this? Well, I'm going to tell you that I feel that this person was gifted. I also believe that revelation came to this person, as I mentioned about when I spoke on Nostradamus, who was a astrologist um, from the 1600s. He was from France or what have you. And I think that the significance in these two and others that are like this is, it's a spirit, is what it is, right? So similarly to divination, being a prophet or a medium, a psychic, a doctor, a lawyer, these all of this is spirit. So things that are presented to you is what presents out. These are spirits. And once you have received your higher sensibility, you'll see how God will use you to relate a message. Now, would you say that they are incompetent? Well, I'm not going to necessarily say that they are incompetent, but I do believe that um, God uses these individuals like any other to debunk what is not true versus what is true versus not, if that makes sense. Like what is um real versus not. What is when something is spiritual versus not. Like say for instance, I give you an example. I mentioned this in another episode. I can't remember what episode it was where I was up at night. Oftentimes um, I'm up during the night and the TV is on and I'm kind of sitting there watching the TV and then the infomercials or whatnot comes on for this one particular night. And this had to have been about 15 years ago. And so I don't see them too often now, but back then there used to be a lot of like religious programming that would come on at certain times of the early mornings. And one particular one was to a ministry that markets giving away miracle water or whatever the case may be. And as I mentioned, um, it was showing people that, you know, had these so-called medical ailments and diagnoses and what have you. And I remember seeing one particular person she was in a wheelchair, and literally he put his hands on her, and she was able to get up out of the wheelchair and run throughout the church setting. And at the time, I was like, this is just bogus. This is crazy, whatever, what have you. And I, would laugh when I would see stuff like that because I'm like, this is such a show. But as I got older and God revealed some things to me, it was a show within a show, if that makes sense. So basically, it was his way of showing you spirits and how the devil is a liar. So I cannot necessarily say that the devil didn't get her and attack her in her mind, or the spirits that are out here who has the ability to inflict pain and suffering or restriction or immobility or whatever on this person. And this is God's way of showing you spirit and deception, right? So do I believe somebody could just not know how to walk and just get up and just start walking? No. What I do believe is that the power of the mind and how God will reveal to you by way of the power of the mind and by way of um, deceptive energy spaces, which are in these spirit related job fields that have a so-called spiritual duty, how they are encased in whatever information that is put towards them, and they don't think a part of or to the contrary, right? This is what I say it is, this is what it's going to be, take it or leave it. So I think that whole, do bear with me, trying to get my hair right. Okay. I do believe that it was to give you a synopsis about energies that are out here, right? Be conscientious as to those energies that are out here because these are spirits. You have them in biblical settings. You have them, religious settings is what I'm trying to say. You have them out in the community. And they are so encased in their reality that they can't see it for what it is. And I'm just going to be honest about it, right? That's what God revealed to me. Divination, to be a preacher, to be a this, a nurse, a this, a that. All of these are energies and spirits. And if you don't do certain things, right, then you open up that you leave yourself subjected or open to getting encased into that vortex. You'll be in and out of their reality. If that makes sense to anybody. All right. So I am going to conclude this episode of the spiritual subject, speaking about spiritual trances. Now, I will be within the next few days, maybe a week or so, again, speaking on spiritual scanners, subject, mind readers, as well as doing an update on my spirit guides, angels, demons. I'm going to put all of that in the same episode. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you're more than welcome to comment below. Until then, have a safe and wonderful day. Good day.